Let's unmask the mole together. Welcome to our very first Wie ist der Mole Hints and Theories video in English. I hope you all have enjoyed the first episode as much as I did, and there's a lot to talk about, so I would just say we get started right away. So first of all, some explanation if this is your first Hints and Theories video. We are going to talk a bit about what happened in the episode, and we will also discuss hints and theories that are going on in the Wie ist der Mole community. So if you haven't watched the first episode of the new season yet, I would really recommend doing that first if you do not want to get spoiled. Otherwise, be aware of spoilers. And sometimes I will refer to candidates or moles from older seasons, so if you haven't watched the old seasons yet and still plan to, well, I will try to warn you so that you can skip a few seconds, but yeah, just be aware of that. First of all, I will tell you a bit about what I thought about the episode and what I recognized, and then we will have a closer look on all these huge theories going on in the Wie ist der Mole community, because there are a few that are highly discussed. So masks are obviously the main topic of this season, and we have a lot of referrings to masks as well, and I really loved getting to know that there will be a masked ball in the end, because, well, that kind of answered some questions I had after the live stream in September. Because the main problem, let's call it like that, was that usually the people who left the game would be sent home right after they left the show, but that would require that nobody else knows who actually is a candidate of the upcoming season. Well, due to the live stream, thousands of people suddenly knew who is a participant in the upcoming season, and well, of course, just imagine the first one who leaves the game right on that evening comes home 2 days later, people would have known who is the first to leave the game, and that of course would have spoiled everything. So I asked myself in September how they are going to solve that problem, and thanks to the first episode we now know that they will meet again at the masked ball, and I've also read the diary entry of the person who leaves the game. You can read that entry on the official Wie ist der Mole website. It's in Dutch, but if you would like to read it, of course you could probably translate it or let it translate online into your mother tongue. And there Suzanne tells us that they met again at that masked ball and that she stayed all those 3 weeks in Albania in separate hotels, of course, so she still was part of that whole Wie ist der Mole circus, that's how she called it, and she said she really enjoyed that, but of course she was separated from the candidates who were still in the game. Nevertheless, she of course, well, was joined by all of those who left the game, one after another, and they had like their own little group and enjoyed that. So I really like getting to know that, it's really interesting. She also talks about it in the online series with Splinter Shabbat, who was a candidate last year, spoiler, and yeah, it was really interesting to getting to know her point of view about all of that. So the first episode is called De tijd zal het leren, and that means something like time will tell, or time will teach us. And we had 3 tasks, and the first one was called Af, in brackets Tofen, the second Avondklok, and the third Unmasked. I think we can't really learn anything interesting so far from the names. Maybe only as a fun fact, the Dutch community is, well, talking about the second name Avondklok, because during the corona pandemic they have like a time after that they weren't allowed to leave their homes anymore in the Netherlands, and that is called Avondklok. So yeah, they are a bit, well, enjoying that joke. Now I would just say let's have a look on the candidates, And the first one I want to talk a little bit about is Arno, because he is just, well, not sure how to actually describe it, but he leaves me with some suspicious feelings, though. What I recognized is that he's not very enthusiastic, or I mean, he's like always a bit, well, it seems like he's not very much into the game. So during the first task he was a little bit there and a little bit there, but never really doing one of those riddles very concentrated. At least that is what we saw. Always keep in mind that we do not get to see all of what happens. These episodes are very, very correctly, strictly planned, cutted. The production really thinks about what they let us see and what they do not let us see. But anyways, he didn't seem very enthusiastic either when they were about to camp, or when they knew they had to do this plea. He was a bit like, oh, okay. His plea also did not very convince me. So it really isn't a wonder, I think, that he got on the first place of the suspicious list in the Netherlands. And also someone figured out that when Rick told them what they had to do and what that plea could well have for effects, that he whispered something like Vistat, which means I knew it. So this was also a bit weird, probably. And there's also something I want to mention about him, which reminded me of a old mole. So here's a little spoiler. During his interview scenes, he tends to look away from the camera. So sometimes, of course, he looks a bit in the camera, but most of the time he just looks to the side or to the bottom. So he's talking like that, not looking into the camera, and then once or twice he just gives like a short glance to the camera. And this reminded me of Merel, who was the Mo in 2019, because she did that as well, and I thought it was very suspicious back then, and well, of course, then I also think it is very suspicious right now. As I said, we will get back to all of these very big discussed hints in a minute, so this is why we just skip everyone for the moment and have just a short look at Frasier. And I think she's very enthusiastic, so like the complete opposite of Arno. And she is also, well, she also tells us that she's very enthusiastic. Like 2 or 3 times she tells us that she's absolutely into that game. And it could either be a very, very enthusiastic candidate or a mole who wants to act like an enthusiastic candidate. The next candidate I want to talk a little bit about is Kim Lian. There's a huge theory going on about Kim Lian, which I just have to, well, mention right now, otherwise my other things that I recognize wouldn't make sense. When the live stream happened in September, we also got to see a mask, and behind that mask a pair of eyes, and well, there were people on the internet trying to figure out whose eyes that were, and they came to the conclusion that they have to be Kim Lian's eyes. And according to that, there are some things she says during the episode that refer to this whole eye topic. So she's the first to meet Rick before the first task. At least this is the order we get to see. We don't know if that actually was the order in which it happened. But anyways, she greets him with "nice to see you." And also during her plea, she said, "Look me in the eyes," right to us viewers. And this was very, well, directly referring to this whole eye topic, also with that kind of move. Yeah, this is just, well, very much talking about eyes and going on about the topic. But what I also thought was a bit, not strange, but what I question is if she really did that plea spontaneous, because if I remember it right, she said she would do it spontaneous because she couldn't come up with anything she liked. And if she really did that spontaneous, then wow, applause, but it somehow seemed very thought through, well, just saying. And another thing about Kim Leon that made her a little suspicious is that when they were entering this camping area, well, the others were discussing, or let's say talking about with whom they would like to share a tent. And then they sit down and Kim Leon says, well, maybe now would be a good time to talk about that. And someone else tells her, oh, we already did that. And she's like, oh, okay. And then we get to see a little interview scene in which she tells us that, well, they had already sorted it out and she was left over. And, well, where was she? I mean, the other ones are there and talking about that. And this, of course, can be interesting because you talk when you share a tent, you probably ask questions, so this can really be interesting to figure out some information. And while she was gone, the most, well, easy explanation is that she was doing one of those interview scenes. Of course, the candidates have to do that once in a while and they will be, well, somewhere else to do that. So maybe she was just giving interviews at that moment. But then again, for a mole, it would be very convenient to be gone in such a moment, knowing that there would have been someone to sleep alone, because as mole you also, well, sometimes probably need some space for yourself to just let that facade fall down and well, have some moments of peace and not be constantly lying and such. And of course, as mole you would maybe enjoy a night for yourself. One thing I recognized about Sahil was that during the live stream, during those plays, or let's say during the task that we saw, he was saying something interesting in that interview scene, because he said you should make yourself at least suspicious as possible, and then it would be easy for you to see who puts a mask on. And while he says that, he makes like this move, so a very interesting hint to like the big topic of the whole season. So I thought this is probably quite interesting to know as well. There isn't much I have to say about Thomas yet, maybe except for the fact that for me he is the storyteller of this season. So I think it's kind of interesting, and of course very well, good for the production if they have someone like that who keeps telling a lot about the sceneries, about the situations they're in. And my first impression in this episode of Thomas was that he is the storyteller of this season, because he really tells us very detailed what that castle looks like and how he's walking up to Rick. Yeah, I really like those kind of things, makes them seem always very, well, like they really enjoy the game and have their eyes everywhere. Last but not least, we have Wellmood, and you know that she was my main suspect, and I'm still, well, I still have her on my list, but I'm a bit not so sure anymore, because she reminds me of, spoiler, Charlotte from last year, who I also had on my list from like episode 1 to 7 or so, and they are both just very into that game, very enthusiastic, trying to find triggers, probably trying to mow a bit, and yes. But what was interesting was that she was the only one who reacted to Rick's sentence of like, keep your eyes and ears open, and if you've watched the anniversary season, spoiler, then you know that this is important. And she also is the only one, at least the only one from who we get to see something like that, who thinks about this whole numbers play with 22 and 11, to which we'll get back in a second. And she also has this, let's say, not very satisfied look at the end of her plea. So I was really, well, surprised about the look, because her plea wasn't that bad, but maybe she just wasn't happy about it. So, and now on to all those hints and theories going on in the Wie is de Mol community, and as I said, number plays are always fun to have in the game, and we have 22, so the 22nd season in 2022, and we also have 11 candidates, and of course all fans are trying to figure out why 11 candidates this year. So there are a few theories going on, like, 11, of course, is the half of 22. The season started on the 1st of January 2022, so there we have again 1122. Could be a hint to Freesia, who is a sports presentator, and well, the Dutch national football team is called Elftal, so there are usually 11 players of one team in a football match. So this could be 11, and there are, well, you usually have about 22 players in the whole team. So this could be like a sports hint to Freesia. There's another theory, or it's not actually a theory about the numbers, but everyone wore a shirt with a 33 on it, and people are, well, thinking if this could be a hint to him because 22 plus 11 is 33. There also was a bird on his shirt, which could refer to the Albanian flag, on which there is a bird as well. Maybe this whole number play, which I think is very likely, will still keep on going in the upcoming episodes. This first episode was called The Tide zal het leren, as I said earlier, so it's also about time, and we had that game with the time in, so the second task all about stopping the clock at 11:22. So I think we will probably still have a lot of number things going on, and this will probably keep us busy in the next weeks as well. Another huge theory going on is that Freesia could be the mole because of something the thermometer on Instagram figured out. So this is an Instagram account who does really cool graphics, and he figured out that in the first game there were €100 missing. Freesia was in the team Aftrofe. That was the team who collected the money, and she handed the money in to Rick, and they should have had €1,500, but they only handed in 1,400. Well, that's why a lot of people think she's suspicious. She also was the only one who said, well, let's not give away all the money to buy Joker's back, which would of course make her seem like more of a candidate. I'm, to be honest, not so sure what I think about Freesia yet. I still tend to think that she is simply a very enthusiastic candidate, but I also understand why people think that she could be the mole. There's also some theory going on about Letizia. She's an opera singer, and there are a lot of things that refer to operas. So we have like this whole mask thing going on. We know the Phantom of the Opera wearing a mask. We also have the live stream, which took place in a theatre, and which is, if I remember it right, the theatre in which the first opera in Albania was shown. Then we also have violins and cellos and such, which of course refer to classical music, but also to Letizia herself, because she plays the cello ever since she was 5, if I remember it right. So this is why a lot of people also suspect Letizia. I have to admit that I think it would be kind of cool if that's true, but also it would be very obvious, or just like with the eyes and Kim Leon, I think this is just too obvious. I mean, why would we want to play the game if we already knew after the live stream who the mole was? It could be a new tactic of the producers to just like throw it into our faces and we just say, nah, that's too obvious, it can't be. But yeah, I just think if it's obvious like that, it's not the mole. But who knows? I also had a look on what they told Rick in the beginning, who they think the most, and what they then filled in the test, or what they told us what they filled in, and I recognized that only a few of them changed their opinions. Okay, so here we have an overview which I just quickly wrote down of what they told Rick before they played the first task, and what they told us, what they filled in the test. and who they still had on their list. Some of them stayed or just added other people, like Arne said he suspects Laetitia, and well, he still had her on the list at the end of task 2. But there are also people who changed their suspects, like everyone who suspected Glenn and then came up like almost with a friendship, I would say. I mean, he saved him in the end as well. And well, he then changed to Sahil and Hila. Hila changed from Arno to Thomas, Everon and Kim. Kim changes from Suzanne to Everon, and Sahil from Thomas to Velmut. That doesn't have to mean anything. I mean, this is just a first impression which they had after those application videos, and this is what they think about spending time with them, so it's probably not saying that much yet, but I still thought it's interesting. It's also interesting to see that we don't get to know what Thomas put in on the question who the mole is. We only get to know that he said that the mole has to be a man, and we do not get any information at all about the kind of things from Laetitia. I left Suzanne out of this list because, well, she left the game, so maybe the reason why we do not get to know that about Laetitia is only to make it a bit more exciting, because usually they do not tell us what the person who leaves the game put in on that question, and well, if Suzanne is the only one, then we would have known Suzanne leaves in some minutes, so maybe this is just to make it more exciting that we have like 2 candidates of who we don't know what they put in, but yeah, maybe this also has to mean something. We can discuss about it now. And last but not least for today, I thought we could end those hints and theories videos with a little favorite scene, because we are also focused on finding hints and theories, and I think just we have some normal scenes in between which probably mean nothing at all, but which are just fun or nice or lovely also, and I thought maybe this could be like a cool kind of series to have in our hints and theories videos. So my favorite scene of this episode are actually 2. The first one is after that camping night, Everon and Frasier brush their teeth and well, look over the city, and everyone tells Frasier, "I've never brushed my teeth with such a view." And I thought it was so lovely somehow, a bit funny, and I really like that. It's just some kind of normal situation in this whole messed up game. And the second thing I really liked was something Hila said in one of the interview scenes which we saw during the live stream. And she said that this game is a doll and a doll and a doll, with what she of course refers to Russian Matryoshka puppets. But I just thought this is such a good metaphor actually for that game, and I could really understand why she thinks like that, and I really like that kind of picture she gave us. So let me know what your favorite scene is, and of course who your mole is at the moment, what you think about the hints and the theories, and if you have recognized anything that I forgot to mention now. Let me know here in the comments, in our Facebook group or on Instagram, whatever you would like. You can also still join our Paul Navis the Mole app. All of those who can't use the app, I will try to let you know about the interesting question of the original test which came online earlier today. If you also want to see the upcoming hints and theories videos, then don't forget to subscribe, and until then I wish you a really nice week and enjoy the upcoming episode, and yeah, let's try to unmask the mole together.